The votes are officially in, and Graves is the second hero added to Deadlock as a part of the Old Gods New Blood major update. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and today I want to do a quick ability breakdown like we do for all the new heroes, where we go through all of Graves' abilities, her weapons, her animations, and everything there is to know about this hero. I'll also get into some lore and some builds at the end of the video that I kind of missed last time with Rem, but let's get right into it. So we'll just start off with some first impressions and kind of see how the character looks moving. This is a hero that I'm super stoked to play, especially when we get into her kit. I'm going to be really excited to play a summoner hero. Spoiler alert. But yeah, holding this, like, I don't know, glowing green hand that also seems to guide Graves whenever she goes for, like, slides or different animations. I'm guessing it'll have to do with the melee as well. So light melee looks like it's just hitting people with the hand. Heavy melee is a backhand with the hand, which is so sick. And now let's take a look at her weapon as well. Okay, so it is a gradual absorption ability. This is the first thing I've seen like this. This is kind of like Moira's suck ability from Overwatch, if you're familiar. We'll take a look at what it looks like. So once you get it over a hero, oh my gosh. There's a little bit of margin for error too. I may have run out of ammo, but let's see. So you can stay within pretty close after you've aimed with them and after you've aimed away. It's like that still does it. Wow. So that's interesting. It takes a gradual amount of health, and it looks like it's also applying a debuff. That might be the 3 ability. Looks like it's the same icons. We'll take a look at that here in a second, but that is what Graves looks like. Let's get into one at a time, going through each of her abilities. All right, Graves' one ability is called Jar of Dead. This is a passive, collect death when anything dies nearby and store it in your Jar of Dead. Active, throw a jar to summon deadheads that repeatedly deal spirit damage to enemies. Deadheads follow you instead if there's no nearby enemies and prioritize the target of your weapon. It looks like this can happen once every 13 seconds. You can have 4 deadheads. They deal 20 damage. The upgrades for this, collecting death heals 5 health per pickup. On health, apply 30% slow for 1 second, and you get +2 deadheads, and they now trigger Essence Theft, which sounds like another Graves ability. This is interesting to look at, so I guess we need to get a kill here on the Abrams, which might prove a little bit difficult here. It's going to take me a second. YouTuber moment. Classic. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. They absorbed right there. You kind of saw them there at the end. And now we have some extra in our Jar of Dead. Then when we go to use it, it looks like a grenade. And they just do just that. And they continually attack. Whoa. How do you get rid of them? Are they just going to destroy Abrams? I'm going to have to look at how these work a little bit more, but that is why. Okay, so it lasts for a certain amount of time, but that did a ton of damage. That did a ton of damage. What in the world? Anyway, maybe you can get out of the range of them. Maybe they do just sit in like a set area. But it does look like they link to whatever they are thrown towards, and they're going to deal that repeated spirit damage. So we'll have to do some more testing on this one, but Jar of Dead looks like an interesting ability. Your kind of classic 1 ability in Deadlock that does splash damage, but nonetheless, it's going to be really cool to see how this one scales with Graves. All right, and the 2 ability is called Grasping Hands. This one has a 24-meter radius, lasts 7 seconds, and looks like it scales in terms of its radius with Spirit, question mark, has a 38-second cooldown. Unearth a line of Grasping Hands dealing Spirit damage and applying Immobilize to enemies when they pass through. You can also alt-cast this to rotate the orientation of the wall. So it's 91 damage, applies that Immobilize for 1.5 seconds, as it says there. The upgrades for this increase its duration, its immobilized duration, and then the final upgrade adds 15 meters to the wall length and reduces the cooldown by 10 seconds. All right, Grasping Hands, we'll take a look at this. And so I didn't see the alt cast. It looks like it's supposed to be the scroll wheel. Maybe it's that. Okay, it's pushing down on the scroll wheel natively. Looks like a very thin wall. We'll see how big it actually is. Okay, so it is thin, but it does grab and immobilize. And then it looks like it would do the same if you pass through it, and it does sit there for a little bit. That is interesting. So that's great. I mean, this already looks like such an interesting character. I mean, you have a ton of area denial right away. I think that was one of her flavor text words, honestly, so it kind of makes sense. But let's look at that one more time. Just gonna see what that looks like. So obviously, if you throw it here, it's not gonna do anything. He has to walk past, even though it does proc. It does like an animation when it initially hits, so maybe there is like an instant amount of damage, and then there's a mobilization that would happen after that. But it looks like it's just honestly when they pass through it, so that might just be an animation effect. But in any case, Grasping Hands, the 2 ability for Graves. All right, and the 3 is that passive that we talked about earlier, and this is a passive called Essence Theft. Your weapon steals weapon damage and spirit resist over time up to a maximum amount per target. The max weapon damage stolen is 25%, and that scales with spirit. And then 10% max resist stolen as well. 3 max steal targets, 4 seconds time for max damage. And this gives you, on upgrades, gives you plus 5% max spirit resist stolen, plus 20% max damage stolen, and weapons can attach to an additional target. Really interesting. So the max upgrade for this is going to chain this. But basically, the more you use this, the more spirit resist you're creating on that target, and then the more your weapon is going to get stronger and stronger as you kind of go along, charging to different targets, with obviously the max steal targets being at 3, so you will use your weapon on 3 targets, which will become really easy when you can upgrade this to full and chain, and then that's going to give you some crazy weapon damage. So even though this is definitely, I mean, you can see the spirit value in a lot of heroes, especially ones like Graves with all these abilities that look so fun to use, but this could also be a really devastating weapon carry hero that can create a chain of effect with this essence theft here. So super cool third ability. Let's take a look at the ult for Graves. All right, and the ultimate for Graves is called Borrowed Decree. A lot of text on this one, so let's take a look. But this one has a 110-second cooldown. Last 7 seconds, 20-meter radius inherently on the card there. Create a gravestone at a target location that summons ghouls over time. So this is our summoner ability here for Graves. Enemies can destroy the gravestone with 2 heavy melees. So it is very clear how you get rid of it. This lasts for 20 seconds, which scales with spirit. 5 seconds time to summon. So I guess inherently, if this were to last 20 seconds at its base, it would summon 4 ghouls if not destroyed. Ghouls shamble towards the enemy base, dealing melee damage. They explode when they approach a hero or objective, dealing spirit damage in an area and applying a brief slow. So this is immediately going to be a hero, especially when we look at the 3 going into the 4. You're going to probably want to do a good bit of weapon and spirit investment to get full value out of some of this stuff. It's really interesting to see right away. The inherent damage on this one is 152. That is a 1.5x spirit scaling, though, as opposed to a 0.05x for the duration, so this really can scale quite a bit with spirit damage. The move speed is minus 80%. Wow. And then the summon health, the health of your ghoul, looks like it's going to scale with your boons, from what I can see there. I think that's what that icon means, at least. 20 seconds for the summon lifetime, so they'll last for 20 seconds. They will explode in a 6.5 meter radius, and apply that 80% move slow for 1.25 seconds. And the melee damage they do inherently is 41, and that also scales with Spirit at a 0.5x rate. Sorry, a lot there. First upgrade on this is a minus 20-second cooldown. Second upgrade is 20 plus 25% ghoul speed and 10-second duration. And at the max, explosions deal plus 5% max health damage. 3 ghouls instantly spawn on cast. That is fascinating. Well, we've read all the flavor text. Let's see what this actually looks like. Now, this might be weird using it in here because there's no objective, so we'll see if they behave normally.
Death is coming.
There's Borrowed Decree. Surely you just go to the Abrams, right? Oh my god, and there's the explosion. So then another 5 seconds pops up. We should get 4 of these if my understanding is correct. There's that explosion again. Pretty awesome. I mean, they look cool. They look really sick. They definitely match with the hand of Graves. And then, as you can see, they die as well, so we should be able to at least pick up their orbs when they die. Could be that I'm at a max amount of orbs. There are the orbs. Maybe if I throw this, then I will pick them up. Okay, that's how that works. And it looks like the orbs will follow me around, maybe? I probably read that text and already forgot it, but in any case, the ult looks sick. This is going to be a wild one. I'm just going to use it quickly at max level just to see what it looks like. Because here you're going to get 3 right away. I mean, this is kind of like your own little mini objective. Wow, this is so cool. I'm thinking of something like, oh, there's an objective in League of Legends I can't remember the name of, but basically it charges towards a tower. Anyway, this is kind of like you can spawn your own version of that. Really, really interesting and cool to see. So those are all 4 abilities for Graves. We'll also take a quick look at Graves' just kind of card, some flavor text, Morbid Area Denial, and Necromancer. That's a pretty good descriptor of who Graves is. Let's also take a look at Graves' backstory. She's actually got a pretty cool backstory, so buckle in for this one. I'm just going to read through this real quick so we know who Graves is. The daughter of high-powered defense attorneys, Darcy Graves grew up in a home where every conversation was a debate, argument, or negotiation. It was exhausting. While her parents were often too busy meeting with clients or working on cases to bond with her, the dead were always there to listen. Graves enjoyed her time in the cemetery. It was a quiet place to calm her thoughts and talk through her problems, but one day her one-sided conversations started to change. It began with a faint whisper, a woman's voice that seemed to respond to Graves' complaints. Intrigued, the teenager listened and followed the voice's instructions until it guided her to a lead-lined box buried in Van Cortlandt Park. I think I'm saying that right. While most high school students would freak out if they were to unearth a severed like hand, I don't know how to say that. Yikes. Graves was certainly not most teens. The hand now free of its prison, the voice grew stronger. It had spent years looking to find a student she could pass her knowledge to, and Graves was eager to learn. This explains, obviously, the glowing hand that Graves is holding. Now a fledgling necromancer, Darcy balances not only her homework at Blackmore Academy, we get the name of the academy, that's very cool, but the demands of graveyard denizens, each of whom have their own unfinished business that they seek her aid in resolving. Really cool story. This is just Wednesday Addams, straight up. But this is a really neat backstory. Already makes me really excited to play this character and learn more about her. Before we end the video, though, let's take a quick look at the default build for Graves and where we think this hero could go right away in terms of build. So this is, as I mentioned, kind of just the default build for Graves. A lot of times these are not my favorite, and I think it's something that can be improved as Valve continues to develop the game, but it does give us a starting point as to kind of what they're thinking about for this one. So as I mentioned, there is a little bit of gun mixed into this. I actually would have expected a little bit more. I think you could play a little bit more of a gun build considering the melee damage that's involved, but with how her spirit scaling is and how you're going to want to, I think, use this hero in a more spirit-oriented kind of way, I think it makes sense with a lot of what we're seeing here. I think especially abilities like Mystic Slow or Mystic Vulnerability, if you're able to, kind of proc these larger AoE things or have your ghouls just exploding everywhere, I think it'll be pretty easy to proc a lot of this. Lightning Scroll, I mean, this is going to be really, Area Denial is a good word for this hero. It would be wild to see a lane of, like, Graves versus McGinnis, for example. Two people that can really shut down a set area pretty effectively when they get going. This is going to be a really cool one to watch. I also realized I'm, like, on Graves' shoulders, and it kind of looks like I'm Graves' head, so that's kind of a wild look. Anyway, but that is going to do it for this ability breakdown for Graves. I'm super stoked to play this hero. I've mentioned it in some videos, but I always tend towards, like, Necromancers and Summoner heroes. Like, I play a lot of McGinnis. Not exactly the same there, but kind of. And the look of this hero is cool. I'm really interested to see how she's related to Apollo in terms of lore. They have the same jacket, and they're probably going to be from the same academy because of that. So, in any case, though, let me know what you think of Graves. Let me know what you think of these abilities, her kit, everything in between. And thank you all so much for tuning in. From our house to yours, we'll see you all next time. Monday for our next new hero, probably, and I've got another cool video coming out tomorrow here at Dead Unlocked. See you all then.